of the colleagues still in the waiting room.
Shall we wait 5 minutes?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we will. Okay, I think we have quite a long agenda today, so we should start now while people are still getting into the online room. I would like to welcome all Zonal Council members and all the guests to the annual meeting of FIDE Zonal Council. Happy to see all of you, even if not in person, through screens, but still it's good that you're in good shape and and ready to work. I truly believe that we are getting very well through the difficult time, through the pandemic year, another pandemic year, actually, the second one in a row. And if you look at what we did this year, I think you should be proud of what your teams, your colleagues, yourself have been doing throughout the whole period, both in terms of the organization of the traditional tournaments, including national championships, zonal and continental competitions, and building capacity for the future.
Mr. President, your sound should be switched on.
Oh, sorry. You didn't hear anything, or?
We heard almost everything.
Sorry?
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Now it's okay? But let me just repeat that I think you all should be proud of what you did during the last few months, during the difficult times, including both organizing competitions, national championship, zonal and continental events, as well as capacity building activities, including training chess professionals, arbiters, coaches, organizers, school instructors. You all did really a lot to move chess forward. I think while we are still learning how to do things in a proper way, we were able to improve our framework to support the development of chess all around the world. Based on the analysis of our development programs, we can state that we were able to focus on priorities while still not doing all the things we have to do. So on the one hand, we were able to hold many competitions, and FIDE Development Fund has supported dozens of competitions around the world, both on the national, zonal, and continental level, as well as online championships, and also support for open tournaments. We initiated this project just a few months ago. Also, we were able to focus on social activities, and with our managing director, who will report very soon to the Zonal Council, coordinating those activities, we were able to kick off very important events, including and I would say that it created a very positive feedback from both National Federation and our partners, including Chess for Refugees, in particular with the pilot project in Kenya, Kakumu Camp. Second is Chess for Inmates, for prisoners. I was a part of the opening session of this competition in Chicago, and I was happy to see that more than 30 teams were the participants of these events. And some of the teams you maybe not you, but some people would not expect, but who took part in this competition, including Mongolia as a winner, Zimbabwe, who took the second place. Not, I would say, not the usual suspects, but countries who are trying to get chess forward big time. Also, of course, the big part of our activity was chess for disabled chess players. We had online competitions, we had seminars, and we are preparing for the next year Chess Olympiad for disabled players in Khanty-Mansiysk. Chess for kids with autistic spectrum disorder, another activity we had this year. And of course, the things that became traditional already: support for veterans, for people who did a lot for chess during the last 30, 40 years, support for kids, including with the help of some of the new partners like Chessable, and support of women chess. Next year, as you probably know, and you are preparing for that, will be the year of women chess for FIDE as a whole. Let me also stress that this all is going to be successful only if we will coordinate our activities at all levels. First of all, we have our flagship FIDE projects that I just mentioned. Of course, I didn't mention all of those, and I should, of course, mention educational chess as the biggest project, at least potentially, with activities that are going on at all other levels. Before this year, we didn't do much to support zonal activities. We do believe that many things should happen at the zonal level, and that should help us to put people together, bring resources to the projects that otherwise would lack the capacity to be organized properly. When we put a few countries together at the zonal level, it is just easier to organize some of the things, both online and in real life. And FIDE will dedicate a substantial part of its development fund to those zonal activities. But it is important to coordinate the zonal activities with continental efforts and continental activities. So what we are going to do is to collect proposals, initiatives from FIDE zones, and then discuss those ideas at the continental level to come back with a structured plan for the next year. That doesn't mean that we will not support other activities. We will have all kinds of things, including things on the national level and things that will go around regional tournaments and events. But the core of our activities should be based on the coordination between FIDE continents, zones, and national federations. To make this happen, we will both talk to each other today and tell you about our plans and hear your questions, your feedback on that, including the most difficult things like marketing and sponsorship opportunities, media perspective. And also we hope to organize those kinds of discussions at the continental levels. I personally will try, if the pandemic will not prevent this, I will try to come to all continents and meet with many of you to discuss those things and make sure that we all understand each other, and this will help to improve the situation. And also, it is important that now we have much better and streamlined dialogue at the level of the FIDE management, with Dan Reznic, our managing director, coordinating these activities, and all FIDE commissions being involved into these practices. I mean, the Development Commission, Social Commission, Commission for Disabled, Women Commission, and others. And I would like to call once again all commissions to work also in coordination between themselves and have constant dialogue with zones and national federations, of course, as well as with continents. Finally, as a piece of positive news, we will increase our development funding from the 1 million budget this year, 2021, to 2 million euro next year, 2022. That's the minimum amount we are ready to invest into the development of chess all around the world. Hopefully we can do even better. And again, part of this activity will be still focused on national activities, another part on continental activities, third part on zonal activities. We'll have a special dedicated funds for associated organizations and to some of the programs that are going through all levels of governance, including, once again, I would like to repeat it, support to veterans, support to open tournaments, and of course the activities related to Women's Chess Year. So I think I should stop on that. Again, really thankful to all of you for your efforts, your participation, and I would like to see all of you together in Moscow next year in July, starting from 26th of July, which is the opening day of the Chess Olympiad in Russia and the opening day of FIDE Congress in Russia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Allow us now to take the floor from you. I think your introductory speech was not only very explicit, but also very encouraging for the colleagues in the zones and the continents. And before we proceed, let me shortly introduce you to today's agenda, because the President's speech is the most important one, but many other exciting things are to follow. So we will continue with my presentation, my report. I would try to give you the main numbers, statistics on where we stand with the development fund. I will also explain shortly what changes have taken place in the managing of the development fund, and encourage you for the further partnerships and cooperation projects for the future. Then I'll give the floor for our magnificent Sonja, the PDC chair. She will dig deeper into the micromanagement, explicitly telling also about our capacity building programs. With some of those, we will start already today, right after Eva's, if you could scroll down, right after Eva's, who is the chair of the Women's Commission, presentation of the Women in Chess year. She will tell us what kind of activities are planned and where and how she sees your role there. We will have, I think, very exciting and very useful two presentations on the sponsorship toolkit and on the successful project management. These have been the issues you have been raising yourselves in the FIDE organized FED forums in our meetings with you. So we try to listen to you and deliver. But now let me try also then to proceed with my presentation. And if you would allow me to share the screen, I would be more than happy. Thank you. No. Well, the colleagues are still trying to arrange the possibility to share the screen. I would also like to formally congratulate all of you who celebrate Christmas. It's the Boxing Day today, so it's very special that you are here with us today, that your families have given the consent to be here and work for the benefit of FIDE. Yes, and now it's coming. Thank you. So this is the structure of my presentation. I would show the key projects to date from the continents, federations. You will see how we have been spending or investing our money. Then I'll touch upon the CSR and KPIs. We have had notable changes in this area. And I would finish, as I said, with the demonstration of the key social projects that would hopefully serve for the encouragement and for the motivation for all of you. So as President already mentioned, this year's overall amount for the development fund was approximately 1 million euros. So 400,000 was allocated for the federations. The average sum, and which was actually the maximum that we allocated to each individual federation, was up to $5,000. Continents, each continent was assigned for up to 100,000 euros. We were kindly asking all the continents to supply or to suggest their continental development plans in the beginning of this year. You have been very successful in doing that, also trying to resemble the zonal activities, the cooperation activities with the commissions. So this allowed us to start acquiring the funding actually quite early this year, already in the March. And this is something that we would be willing to repeat the next year as well. Right after receiving your reports, we'll be organizing the continental meeting, the same as we did last year, consulting with you, trying to listen to you, what priorities are, and adjust your annual plans as necessary. We will have many more opportunities than this year, mainly, of course, because the situation with the COVID is getting better, and we can actually implement many more activities than it was last year and 2 years ago because of the huge restrictions still in place. We also feel much more stable about the prospects of FIDE budget. So hopefully the draft budget of 2022 will be adopted in 2 days' time, and we can count on 2 million euros for the development programs. The overall budget of FIDE has been restructured, including the development budget part as well. And here you see the same as actually was already introduced by Mr. President. Here you would see in the more details what our estimates would be. So the same amount of money would go for the national federations and for the continents. But then we'll have another budget line specially dedicated for, we have called it supranational associations, which is mainly the affiliated organizations, zonal initiatives as well, if there would be such coming, besides those already proposed by continents. But as you can see, more than 500,000 has been budgeted for various social and development projects initiated by or initiated together with our commissions. So even if you see that there are certain limits or capping for the national federations as for direct allocations, this doesn't mean that that's the maximum that you can get for your development activities. If you are active, if you cooperate, if you work together with your continents, if you work together with our commissions, the potential for great projects to be implemented is high, and we warmly encourage you in doing so. A special program will be also designated for the veteran support. We will continue allocating the grants for those distinguished arbiters, trainers, and other representatives of chess professions over 65 years old. Women in chess, yes, 100,000 specifically for these kind of initiatives, but I will also would be more than happy if in your annual continental plans you would allocate and designate specific activities for women chess, or for chess used for women empowerment. Youth development programs, we have been quite active this year in talent development together with Chessable as our main sponsor for this budget line, and this cooperation will continue, and other minor activities. So this is the indicative structure for the next year's development plans, and I hope that we will manage to provide not only the quantity but also the quality. So how have we been doing this year? So if you look at the federations level, then we can see that federations have been quite active. They have almost exhausted the overall amount that has been allocated to them. So these, if you look at the slide in the bottom of the picture, you would see the state of the play in the mid of December. Some further allocations are still in the pipeline. So we might say that that despite all the still strong restrictions in some of the countries, the federations have been active enough and creative enough, proposing reasonable plans for investment. So if you look at the federation level, you could see that America has been very active, followed by Africa, Europe, which is also understandable because in Europe there are not that many less developed federations, and then Asia following.
I'm not hearing you.
Can't hear you.
No, not hearing you, Dana.
Dana, we lost you.
Yes,
You're,
good.
you're back.
You're
You're
good
back.
now.
Yes, good.
I'm back.
Good. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't touch anything. Okay. So there was no secret information that I wanted to reveal. It's just that in the beginning of the year, actually, it seemed the federations seemed to be very cautious and put their emphasis on the educational activities, on the training, online training. But when the year was proceeding and the COVID restrictions also were more predictable, the events came back. So you can see that once again, the events has been taking the lead in the development funding. So this would be then my suggestion. If you use the national allocations for the events, be more creative in acquiring the development funding that we still have there in our pockets of FIDE, and we'll be happy to distribute for various social initiatives that would make the difference. So if we look at the continental level, then the picture is a bit more different, I would say, quite surprising for me. And this leaves us to consider what the reasons are. We can see that Africa has been very active, and they have been coming with the initiatives, and we have been trying to be very strong and following the principles of scrutiny, just to keep them in the limit of 100,000 euros. While on the other hand, we can see that the continent of America is using only half of the allocated funding. And then the natural question, of course, comes, what is wrong? I mean, is it the lack of the ideas? Is it really so that we do not need the funding, which I doubt? Is it the capacity? Especially if we have been really encouraging to come with the initiatives promoting the zonal activities. We have various requests also from the education, from the Women's Commission. I would urge really the continents to work more actively. And if some of the initial ideas drop off and you could really see that they are not feasible, the things that were topical and were considered as very important ones in the beginning of this year might lose their topicality over the months, especially of these unstable times. Because of these unstable times, approach us, come with new initiatives, and we will provide hands-on and try to help you and allocate the funding. It is in our interest to invest in your capacity building, in the activity of chess. It's not into our interest to really save on development. We should save on the management costs or administrative costs, whatever, but not on the development. So Asia as well, I mean, still to go. There are a few more initiatives in the pipeline, so the overall performance will be close to 80% approximately, yes, but I'm pretty sure that there are very many great ideas, initiatives that can be funded within the continental framework, and we encourage you doing that. So here as well, I mean, if you see what the emphasis has been put on tournament organization and all the various initiatives that you might have come upon with are still modest or moderate. Yes, so we encourage you to really open your mindset and not concentrate so much on the events only. So we've been actively supporting also our affiliated organizations. Last year was empty for them. Many events were postponed, cancelled. This year is also very difficult, like Francophone games in Africa have been postponed already for 2 times. Now it's the 3rd time then that they have been delayed already to next year. But we are glad for every event organized by our partner institutions, and we'll be happily providing the same support, hopefully even more next year. So the president also already touched upon the fact that all the activities, or the idea that all the activities have to be streamlined and somehow coordinated among those themselves, and there has to be consistency. So what we did this year, we, as I said, reviewed the KPIs also on of the PDC, of the development fund. We notably increased the social aspect of it, adding the social criteria as the horizontal priority, besides all the others that were also slightly improved to be better targeted. And this goes very well together with the fact that in the beginning of this year, under the strong leadership of our treasurer, Madam Zhu Chen, FIDE has adopted our corporate social responsibility guidelines to demonstrate the world that we want and can be a transparent, a dedicated, organization and also to practically improve the work at the management level. That I'm pretty sure will be for the benefit of all. Not only making the world a better place by investing our penny into that, but I'm pretty sure that today it also opens up the new markets for FIDE as the partner, as the potential organization to be supported by international corporations, because those companies who take care of their social responsibility on their transparent operations, they look for the same partners. And we have to demonstrate it by our intention, by our policies, and also by practice. The way we work, the way we implement projects, the way we organize our accountability, that creates the image of us as the partners, of us as FIDE, of you as the continents, zones, and national federations. So here you can see the whole set of the KPIs that every initiative coming from your side is judged upon. They have to comply with these criteria, standards. You are there to provide the information how you would be reaching this goal. The core, of course, is core criteria is, of course, related to the technical operations of the federation. So more of the quantitative ones. Then we have this social or horizontal priority with the emphasis on the women chess, on people with disabilities, on also regional aspect or the zonal elements. We want us to put more emphasis also on the promotion of the activities. So you can implement the most exciting projects or the best ideas in the world, but if nobody knows that you are doing that, it's not too much of the value. So we want us to tell the stories, the world, and tell the world the stories. We want also that they see that the investment is coming from FIDE. So we need your cooperation in telling the stories. So that is why dissemination activities are very important in each of the projects. And the partnerships. I mean, you can build great projects all on your own, but even bigger one, making the difference over the borders of your national federations only if you are able to create strategic partnerships. So this is something that we also want to encourage you to do, starting from, asking where the partnerships are, to also providing the tools and practical support in getting the sponsors attracted to you, getting the public institutions supporting you, arranging these kind of strategic partnerships. So yes, this has been the first year when PDC has been really proactively working with other commissions. Not all of them have been listed here, but you can see few of the initiatives that have been carried out by over our other commissions. The most active one has been the Social Commission, or actually not all the initiatives have been initiated by the Commission itself. Just to mention, for example, Chess for Kids with Autistic Spectrum Disorder. That was actually the initiative put on the table by one of our vice presidents, Madam Sorokina. So a great example when you see that if there is a great idea, if you are ready to invest your energy and effort and time in promoting it, you will have all the support. So this is something that I will not stop repeating. Just come with the great ideas and they will be supported. So, and this is the great chance for you actually, yes, to come with the ideas at the national level, at the zonal level, and the continental level as well, in the strong cooperation with commissions. Right after my presentation, I will show you a short video on the highlights of this year, on the major projects that we have carried out this year. I hope that that will serve as the inspiration for your future activities and for the initiatives that we will receive from you early next year. Some of them are listed here, but I would use the opportunity as well, and once again remind the fact that to the next year, it is the year specially dedicated for women in chess. So every initiative that you are carrying out with or without the support of FIDE, better with, then please inform us. Come with the initiatives supporting women in chess, promoting the chess professions that are suitable for women, organizing the events, implementing marketing activities, everything that would raise the interest, point the attention, everything that would empower your women and that would empower the women in chess in general. So that's my warm request. You will, as I said, see the more explicit presentation from Eva's side, from Madam Rybkova's side, but I would also really like to encourage you to support this great initiative. So, and now I would ask my colleagues to kindly wrap up the presentation of the development programs with the short video for your consent.
We announced 2022 the year of women chess.
Sometimes feel that we live in the man's world and we do have kind of a glass ceiling, but
Girls are equal.
So what a saturated and exciting year it has been. I would warmly thank all the federations, the continents who have been very supportive in this endeavor. Also my FIDE colleagues who've been initiating the projects, who've been working hard to deliver. And I hope that with our common work, with all you together at all the levels, we will really reach goals others only can think of also in 2022. But now I would be happy to give the floor to Sonja for the hard work part now. She will come with all the details and analysis of our cooperation with you and suggestions for the future as well. Sonja?
Thank you so very much, Dana. Team, is it possible for me to be able to have control to share directly?
Yes, please try.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it yet. I will try. I'm not seeing the access just yet. Still not host.
Sonja, you have a right to share a screen. It's not from our side.
I am not.
So maybe share your presentation as it was planned.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, I'm not seeing any access given to me as co-host. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and share. I'll take it through. A member of the team who would share.
Okay, can you try once more, please, Sonja?
I'm not seeing the access at all. Sorry, Sava, it's not even close. I'm seeing Gennady, you, Isa, but not me.
You don't need to be to host to share screen.
So it's okay if somebody else could share on my behalf for the benefit of the wider group. We don't want to keep them back. It's okay. They could share my presentation.
Hey, Sonia, you don't necessarily have to be host to share the screen. I think if the share screen at the bottom is green.
No, it's not allowing. I have no access.
Gotcha.
They have, right, so.
It's actually working. I tried sharing my screen and it worked.
I have absolutely no access to share. It's not even accepting it. But could someone share it for me? Okay, let's see if I get any. I'm now seeing maybe some.
Meanwhile, you can tell the colleagues what you are
Yes.
going to talk about?
Yeah, sure. No, I just want to make sure that we hear. So really what we're going to discuss a little bit is just some of the actual day-to-day work that we engage with as we try and serve you the Federation's continents and wider FIDE. Yeah, so some of behind the scenes, some of our observations. We're also going to take a look at the initiatives that we have as a commission, and how we've worked also with other commissions and other organizations to help deliver for the federations. Okay, so I have absolutely no, right, I'm seeing, okay, good. So could we have it? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so as we move to the next slide, which has the agenda for today. Okay, so here, as I had already mentioned, we're looking at the various processes. We'll take a look at the Fed Forum initiative that we started in 2020 and we continued in 2021. You see how we've engaged the Federation continents and zones, and then also commissions. So we'll merge more or less 3 and 4, those particular topics. And finally, we'll take a look at some of the capacity building ideas that we have and that we feel are important for us to really get the maximum out of the funding and, of course, for the overall development of FIDE. So we move on. So the first set we're looking at, I want to remind people that the PDC website has all the information as it relates to funding. Okay, so many times people come in to us, they're asking us for the forms, etc. Everything, we were happy to work with Elisa to make sure everything is available at all levels. As you see, there's the Federation Continental Affiliated Association, and for last year we introduced commission funding. So everything can be found on the PDC's website. So we take specifically, let's go into each. So here, this is the process. So people know these processes are very similar across all arms of FIDE. It must begin with the completion of the required documents. Sometimes people send in a letter, it's addressed to the managing director, addressed to the president, but you must begin with the process, right? Which is completion of the required documents. Everything is there, as well as sending it to a particular email address, which is fedfunding@fide.com. Some people also send it to me. The process does not begin with me. Okay, so it's important that, and it's a reminder that federations need to follow the process. Just like everything else, the whole submission is assessed against the criteria, what we feel to be, and I know the president and the managing director would have already articulated some of the FIDE priorities. So we do it against other set criteria, and we also must make sure that it's well documented. And then once it leaves PDC, it goes to the managing director and treasurer for approval. And then after, the federation is advised and the funds are remitted. We move to the next slide. So this is basically the application package. Once you've already completed the agreement, we would have had many, over 90 federations, maybe about 100 who would have already applied for funding. There's no need to sign a new agreement, but what you need to complete the request for funding, the Appendix B and the Appendix C. And of course, at the end of the period, the report, okay, because there must be the accountability. As we move on. So the continents process is very similar. The difference is that there are not that many documents that they need to submit, because a lot of the heavy lifting for the continents come at the beginning. So we do like planning this whole, and the managing director would have alluded to this. We go through and we sit with the continents and look at their plans and review their plans. So we agree in principle what the plans for the year would look like. Sometimes the plans may change, that's okay. They come into us And then we rework it, we see what is still available, and we execute. Okay, but again, still the approvals remain the same. It's always the managing director and the treasurer. We move on. Okay, here, so we look here. This is now for the continents drawdown requests. They have KPIs, but those are done at the beginning of the year for the entire year. We move on. So a commission. So last year, for the first time, we actually actively managed the funding for the commissions. 2022, we might see just a slight shift in how that's done, but the collaboration remains. So again, as the managing director said, once there are projects that really could are impactful, that make sense and involve many different federations, zones, continents, etc., those are projects that are considered. And we go through the same process. If there are some things missing, we let them know, and so on. We get the approvals, and at the end, they have to do the reporting, but the reporting is within a shorter time frame because their projects are normally for a defined time and not normally over the course of a year. We move on, right? So that's why you see their documents are much, much less because these organs are internal to FIDE. We move on. And then we have our affiliated associations. We saw in 2021, we had a number, at least 5, who came into us for funding for different things. Almost all were for some sort of tournament, some sort of event that kind of allowed their communities to come together and really benefit from the funding. Again, this process is more closely aligned to the federation process. You would see by the next slide, you would see the documents. Okay, so very much the same, the agreement. Again, we want to make sure that that is done, the KPIs, the requests, and at the end you have the reporting. And of course, you could download the entire package in the link. All of this is available on the PDC's website. We move on. Okay, so these are some of the things. I mean, we had the benefit of the past 3 years to really look at the overall program across the board for all levels, federations, continents, commissions, associations. And mainly, these are some of the takeaways that we want to share with you so people could perhaps be maybe a little more precise when the applications are coming into us, because sometimes when you're not, this is what causes some delays. So we ask, please, that you read the instructions carefully, okay? Particularly when if, for example, the application asks, okay, tell us what is the period or tell us what are the outcomes of this particular funding injection. You need to be able to tell us exactly what you're going to use it for, right? Sometimes people don't pay attention, they don't respond to what is being asked. Of course, we are there to work with you. We are structured in a way that we have counselors per continent who could work with each federation, who works with the continents in particular, to ensure that we could have really robust type applications, okay? Next thing is that we want clear objectives. When we say that we want to do something, we must have something in mind. Why do we want to do this? Okay, why do we want to do this? Do we want to fill some particular need, right? So we need to be very clear because this is one of the criteria that we look at when we assess applications. The objectives must be very clear. Next, we must have a detailed budget. So even if the allocation is $5,000 in the case of the federation, what is that being used for? Okay, because we want to see, we're comparing it with your KPIs and so on. Okay, so we're comparing it with your KPIs and we want to make sure it's gone. Right, thank you. So we want to make sure that you understand and we understand how the funds will be used, because it is in everyone's interest to make sure the funds are used in a way that align to FIDE priorities. The other thing is the deliverables. So I know what I want to do. I've got the funding. What are the clear deliverables at the end? For example, if I'm doing training, how many people are being trained? For example, if I'm having an event, how many people are we targeting for that event? We want clearly documented deliverables. What is the outcome? I want to start a chess in prisons program with 2 of our nation's prisons or district prisons, whatever it is. That is the kind of a level of detail that we require when we are reviewing these applications, okay? The next thing we wanted to look at is the key performance indicators, as the managing director had said, that we took a lot of effort in making sure we streamlined it along activities that FIDE felt were important and for development across the board. Okay, so and the other thing that we look at is how realistic are the targets that you set? So sometimes people do have the KPIs, the baseline, they do have their targets, but some of those targets are not realistic based on the activities that you're going to say for the year. So everything that we do not just, the KPI is not just a document to be completed. It is to be done together with the application that you have made with us. And some of you also have additional strategic plans. We look at all those things together when we review an application. It's not just for completing a document. So that's why some of you might have been on the receiving end when we go back and forth with some of these applications. It is important that you take your time and you complete the application with as much detail as possible, because you have to assume that the person who is reading does not know what you want to do. So you need to be able to tell your story in a way that makes sense and that is credible, okay, that people could believe, yes, you could actually deliver on what you say. So it is very important that we do that. At the end, of course, we have to submit the final report. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the key milestones at the end. And the other thing that some countries are forgetting, and FIDE has this in their financial regulations, you cannot apply for funding if you are in arrears. So you need to make sure, because this is not the PDC's process, but it is part of our process in terms to check your eligibility. You need to double check whether you are in arrears or not. If you are, please arrange to have a plan, a payment plan. The team has been to me quite facilitative with the finance team and the treasurer that is approved by them. Only when it is approved and some initial payment is made are we allowed to continue with the funding process. Okay, so these are just some of the observations. I know some zonal presidents are here who are also federations who have accessed funding. So this is the message we want to make sure that we get across to all. As we move on. Okay, and then, all right, so the slide just after this, okay, this is just a reminder. We have the PDC Resource Library. Here, we knew at the beginning of the year, some federations had some concerns accessing federation data for their KPIs. So we were able to get Elista to give us some spreadsheets with things like registered players, rated players, etc. That is there, but assuming January 19th, 2021. So that was really used for your baseline data, on top of which you were able to set targets. We still have the Federation Management Handbook there, but still we have not been able to advance this as we would have liked. But there is some allocation, we think, for 2022 to have this done sooner rather than later. We also have planning tools on that in that tab, and that planning tools would be, how do you set objectives? How do you set KPIs? Things like that, looking at planning. Okay, so we have some resources that the Secretary, Carolina Munoz, who's actually here online with us today, has been able to put together so federations could take a look at it. And we realize that federations have not been accessing some of these resources, and we think maybe it could be that people did not know. Okay, so it's important that we take a look at these. Of course, we have things related to governance. We had a capacity building seminar last year on governance that we were fortunate to have the chair of the Ethics Commission do for us. That presentation is also online for reference. And we also have a presentation which was done again prior by the marketing director in February 2021. That is also there. So there are resources. It's not complete. Okay, this is going to be very dynamic. As we have resources that we think would be useful, we will include in this particular section. We move on to our next initiative, which is the FIDE Forum. Okay, so we look at what the objectives of the FIDE Forum. Some of you who are already on this call would have participated. So as we look at the objectives on the next slide, we see essentially we need to understand what are the needs of the federations in your particular group. Okay, we've structured mainly, by and large, the FIDE forums along the zonal lines. Okay, in some cases we looked at language, so it might have even crossed some zones, but generally, by and large, it's across zones. This is the opportunity we used in the last two sections, and especially the first one where we talked about the KPIs, what people did well, what people didn't do well. Okay, so this is our reporting back to you on what we saw. Okay, and what we another great value by having these communal meetings by the zones is that we recognize that many of us are very similar in our needs. So as Mr. President said, let's see how it is that we could really optimize and kind of work together within the zones and so on to really optimize the use of the funding. As we move on. So this was the schedule that we used in 2021, and we completed it successfully. We move on. And these, I just want to kind of, again, report into what it is we saw from the FIDE Forum. So we saw that COVID is still having an impact in 2021. But we have also seen federations still up their game in terms of participation. And some happily have been able to organize some over-the-board activities. We've seen quite a bit of that in Africa. America has been severely challenged in terms of over the board. I know in some parts of Asia as well, and in Europe, we also saw some over the board activities. So it was really a mixed bag of results, okay, and outcomes. We've also heard from federations where they have a concern because there's no, in the cases where there's no over the board activity, they've actually lost some membership and participation, which again affects their ability to get income. So even if they have some online activities, the issue really is still some of the over the board having that material impact. We have to remind people to mute those who are not muted. Okay, and then we have hybrid tournaments, which again came up in 2020, and we really saw that come to play during the World Cup and some qualification events, and even some continental events in 2021. So we were very happy, and I think federations were happy with this format. Of course, they're looking for consistency in the award of titles and norms where may be applicable. What this pandemic did is that it also forced continents and other feds to get their capacity building going. Okay, so if you have downtime in terms of playing and so on, we were able to see an increase in capacity building. You would have seen the slides presented from the managing director in terms of the usage of funds, especially with the federations. There was a very good allocation between seminars, for example. event organization and other things, right? So this to me is how I see a benefit of what the pandemic brought, increasing the opportunity for capacity building, a lot more arbiters trained, trainers, a lot of trainer programs. So people were using the opportunity to skill up. Okay, and of course we saw where we were able to use virtually the project for the chess in prisons, right, which the managing director already alluded to. We also started to see more requests as over the board events continue for materials. So that came up, and even more training for trainers and arbiters. So even though we did quite a bit of that, we're still getting requests that this is needed at the federation level, in addition to all the projects that they want to take part in. When we did the Fed Forum, we would have sent out a survey to all the participants, whether you participated in the Fed Forum or not, once you were part of the zone, part of the communications, because what we wanted is to get from you, we had some areas, and we'll discuss it in a little bit, some of the areas that we were looking at for capacity building, and we just wanted to garner from you, to get from you the importance of these particular areas that we've identified. Okay, and we also saw a decrease in compared with 2020 in terms of the participation in the Fed Forum. We recognize in many cases, there were two main reasons that we saw that sometimes the contacts that are on the website are not correct. And secondly, sometimes we saw that, like, even if we gave a month's notice and we sent a reminder, not every time that people did follow up, did they follow up on the emails. So the emails were not being read in a timely way for them to get the links and so on to participate. And in this, we're looking for ways to improve, and we definitely need your help as zonal presidents to make sure when we have these things, because many times the zonal presidents are there, but not all the federations are there. Okay, to find ways in which we can ensure that the participation is as it should be. We move on. Okay, we move on. Next slide. Okay, so this is where we kind of working towards, right? So we're looking at the federations. No entity works on its own. Okay, we all have to find ways to collaborate. And that's why the next slide, as we look at the next slide, we see, okay, how are some of the ways that we could look to increase collaboration? These are the things that we think about. Making sure we have increased participation, as I said, in the Fed forums. You would see coming up, how do we engage other commissions in this particular initiative, which is the Fed forums. The continents, make sure you work with your zones in making sure. So again, the FIDE president mentioned it. A lot of the activity we want to see coming up from the zones, you know, not just the continents. How do the zones feed in to the overall planning and execution of events that are funded by the development fund? For example, one of the things that came up in Africa and in some countries in Asia is that they have many, many players, but there are not many international masters, for example. How do we then structure these activities so we build and increase the number of international masters and by extension grandmasters? This has to be a deliberate attempt by specific zones to make sure that this happens in collaboration with the continent. Okay, and of course, remember, no man is an island. We at the PDC, we don't do any work on our own. We see ourselves as enablers. So again, we need to work with commissions and so on to execute on the various programs. So as we look at this next slide, as we look at the right, excellent. So this is what we are trying to do, okay? We have federations have their own plans. Some of the plans they send to us, but some of the plans could be done in context of what the zone is doing. The zones is the same thing. the zonal plans shouldn't be done in isolation. It should be done in the context of the overall continental plan. Okay, and again, from the continent, if this is what we're trying to do, again, in the context of what is FIDE's overall plan. So you see a lot of these things should be feed into each other. Okay, this is how we get institutional alignment. That's why we're saying that we need to make sure that we just don't operate as we, in some cases, that we've done in the past. Okay, we want to get these zones involved because just this is like a missing link. Okay, so because sometimes some of the feedback we get is that the continental plans are not contemplating what is going on at the federation and zonal level. That's a real issue. But I have to first of all really acknowledge and recognize Asia. I think Asia is the continent that has most tried to come up with this model in terms of making sure that the zones are covered, the languages are covered. I mean, when you look at their activities generally, it's very comprehensive across all zones. And it's a deliberate event, a deliberate attempt. So I just thought I wanted to recognize some of the others do it, but just partially. So it doesn't seem like it's embedded in how you do what you do in terms of your planning process. So we will work with you to make sure that this happens. As you see, there's an additional allocation for zonal plans. Okay, of course, in collaboration with the continent. We're not doing this just separately because, again, you could have chaos, right? So we need to make sure that this is done in a truly streamlined way. But this is the vision, guys. This is where we want to be. Okay, we don't just want ad hoc planning. Yeah, we move on to the next slide. Okay, these are some of the important dates. Okay, because I know some of you know this already, are very efficient, but some others are not. So just as a reminder, when all reports are due, Federation, continents, all reports are due as per the agreement within the first month of the next year. Okay, all reports. Okay, this year, we spent a lot of time because some people wonder why our funding programs don't begin earlier. We will not begin earlier because this process is not completed. And we have an obligation based on the agreements to receive the reports and to accept them. And you know we've accepted them if there are no other comments to be made. Where there are gaps, we tell you where there are gaps. And then you see it posted on the PDC's website. Okay, so that is what we need to make sure we complete. We're looking again by February, because you know we would have ended all the reports, plans. So we need to have, of course, we would prefer to have the plans earlier. There's no reason why zones and continents cannot work concurrently with the reporting. Okay, but we need to have the plans, some draft for review, with the view that those will be finalized a week later. So it comes into us, we look, okay, fine, it's comprehensive, it meets all the criteria, the KPIs are generally met in principle, and we do that. And then that's why we have now the funding period begins from the 1st of March, because we would have dealt, in other words, closed off 2021 as we try and usher in 2022. We want to make sure that is done properly. Okay, but we can't do this. We need your help to make sure we deliver on this. Okay, so that's why we have this as a reminder, because this is in the agreement, particularly the reports. But for those who may not remember, that's why we are sharing it with you now. We move on. So capacity building. So this is what we try in terms of the objectives. Okay, so we recognize that there are indeed some gaps in terms of the management of the Federation. Some people have some challenges. In some cases, people have shared those with us. In other cases, we see based on the products that come into us, the applications that come into us, that sometimes maybe there is a potential for some assistance in capacity building, okay, which is not necessarily technical, which is not the arbiters, which is not the organizers, which is not the trainers. Okay, it's how are you managing your federation. So what we're looking at now is maybe some equivalent of like a chess administrator course, perhaps, looking at the national, local, at the first stage, at the federation level. Let's see what we could get out there. What are some of the courses? We did some of this in Abu Dhabi in 2020. We continued with some capacity building in the zonal council with the governance in the end of 2020. And you're going to see some of this here today with the 2 items for capacity building schedule on today's agenda. Okay, some of the things that if you really want to think big is that we could perhaps work with other third parties and institutions to deliver these kinds of courses. But that is something, of course, to be thought about and planned much later on. We move on. Okay, so these are the things that when you're generally managing any kind of institution, these are some of the areas that we look at. Okay, people have said we've recognized that communication has really been one of the key issues across the board in FIDE. Okay, how do we help build that? How do we develop that? Things relating to the constitution, people have had issues building partnerships. How do we manage the resources? Federations have come into us and say, here, now they have difficulty in getting the right resource to help manage their federations. How do you do project management? Okay, if you say this is what you're going to do, you put pen to paper. How do you execute in a way that makes sense, that you execute on time with the right resources? So again, we recognize there's some gaps there in some instances, and it's an opportunity to develop. And finally, governance. Many times we don't see this as important, but you see a lot of the underlying issues as if you don't deal with governance. That's why you have the symptoms of some of the ineffectiveness or maybe not achieving as you would like later down the road. We move on. So when we did the survey, this was just to get from the feedback as to which areas people felt were important. The first one was linked to governance. And we saw in governance that people felt was moderately important. There was a mix between moderate and important. So again, still an area versus the next one, which is like management of activities, project management, which had high interests in terms of importance, as you see. The majority being in 4 and 5 in terms of its importance, as well as management of resources. Okay, so you see the skew of the curve towards the right, meaning that that particular topic seems to be of importance to federations. We move on. Okay, the next one is managing the environment, things like safe sport, key roles within the federations, partnerships, etc. People again found this was moderately important. So of course we take note in terms of our priorities. And then the final one in management skills with 3, 4, and 5 really completely skewing the curve as being important with effective communication, leadership, conflict management, decision-making, etc. So this is going to help inform us of some of the activities and workshops we will put on going forward. We move on. So this are the PDC initiatives. We are so happy that later on you're going to see we have the sponsorship toolkit. We're going to have the marketing director. He's going to give us a short presentation on what the objectives and so on of that is. So that draft has been done. That came from our Fed Forum discussions. People wanted an actual toolkit that they could use to help engage sponsors. We're still working on the creation of the dashboard. I mentioned that we have the Excel spreadsheet. We know that is not as user-friendly for those who don't like Excel as much. So we're still working towards trying to get individual dashboards for each federation so you could pull up your data much easier. And I discussed in my meeting the online application. Hopefully we have requested some assistance and resources towards that end to make sure we have a product that is really robust and not just a workaround. And we're looking again at the development levels. We have this model, but over the past year and a half, when this model was initially developed, we may have had some other considerations as it relates to the definition of chess development, the development of federations. So some of those assumptions have to be revisited, and we are actually widening by 2 or 3 different persons to the initial group who would have looked at that, because if we're doing something, we want to do it right. So that is later on in 2022. The handbook has been completed, the draft. We have again asked for resources because the internal resources of FIDE are also a little bit stressed to try and do a combination of external and so on to make sure we could have a physical handbook to you in early 2022. And as the managing director said, when we do good work, we can't just do it. It must appear to be done. Okay, so again, we need to strengthen the way in which we profile the work that we're doing at all levels, in the federation, the continent, the zone, everything, right? Even at FIDE. Okay, so this is an ongoing initiative. We move on. So that brings me now to the end of my presentation. I know a lot of it, there was a lot of detail and so on. So we'll just take a couple minutes if you wish, if there are any questions. And if not, I will just make my concluding remarks.
Any questions, colleagues? Raise your hands in the chat box or make us know that you are willing to comment or suggest anything.
Is it a fair sum? Oh, okay, Louis?
Just a quick question regarding the funding to the continental, to the commissions. If at a certain point in time that from the continental allocation, the Confederation is not able to actually allocate enough for what is proposed by the Continental Commission, is there a way in which that can be supplemented from the commission, the actual commission funding from PDC, aside from the continental funding?
So, Louis, all of these would be done on a case by case because we want to make sure we optimize. So we would look at all sides, okay? Because if it's a good project, we were going to find a way to do it. As you see, we always try and find a way, but I'm not going to commit exactly how that will be done. Right, but what you said is a possibility. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But basically, if I may, the initiative should actually on those other development projects should come from the Commission's side, so that we can make sure that they are aligned with the FIDE priorities and that they are well thought and considered and fully supported by the Commission themselves.
Yes, thank you for that, Dana, always. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, understood. I was just going to add that we have some proposals from some of the continental commissions, which we're going to look at if we're able to fund, depending on the allocation and the balance that we have at the end of the allocation during the, let's say, for this coming year. And obviously, from what I can see, some of those will exceed what we're able to allocate as a continent.
Okay, and that's fair, Louis. I'm glad that those discussions are being held. And of course, we will work, when we have these discussions, we will take and see how best we will allocate that, from whose allocation, because we, as the managing director correctly said, everything is again looking at once we see continental involvement, we would see how best to allocate. And it may very well just be from the commission budget, because you see there's a separate allocation altogether for the commissions, whereas it was all part of the PDC before. Yeah?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Good Afternoon, morning, afternoon.
Hi.
Am I being heard? I'm just double
Yes,
checking.
yes, I'm hearing you, Ian. Yes.
All right, good yes, early morning, but good afternoon, everyone. Well, first, I'd just like to thank the speakers for their presentation, starting with the president, and wish for everyone using this forum all the best for the season and a fantastic 2022 when it lands. I have a question. Thank you also specifically, Sonja, for that very comprehensive yet relatively brief presentation in relation to something the managing director, Dana, said, that the Americas were not utilizing the full allocation. I wanted to see how that juxtaposed with the PDC's remit. And for example, in Jamaica, we, stemming from even the previous FIDE administration, we had an issue with the regional body as far as we were supposed to have got some equipment, more particularly like digital boards, chess boards, and we never got them. And I know the new president, Mr. Myers, has been following that up. Bearing in mind, how do we relate the two things now? We have, I forget the old administration because we have been around for several years now. How can we bridge that gap in the sense of your remit at the PDC and what the managing director says is that the Americas had not utilized its full resources? How can we bridge that gap, particularly bearing in mind that the funding which we are getting is limited to a certain amount? How can we improve on that?
Yeah, Sonja, I would be willing you to continue, but one practical idea would be following the continental plans. They are published. I mean, that is why we ask them to be provided at a very early stage. In the beginning of February, we will be discussing those with the Commission so that they are also on the same page. And then, as soon as they are confirmed, they are published on the PDC webpage so that also the national level, the zonal level, can see what the plans are, what the activities are, and probably approach the continents if they have some suggestions how to improve those. Of course, I would be more than happy if this coordination process from the side of continents would be taking place prior to approval of the annual plan. But if that will not be the case, then at least post factum, everything will be seen and can be also adjusted. Even more so in those cases when we see that the continent is underperforming, not using fully the allocation.
Ian, is that okay?
Sonja, if you want to add
something. Yes, and Ian, and you saw the slide where I showed from federations into zones. You remember that institutional alignment? As the managing director just said, what we would really prefer is that these kinds of discussions are held beforehand. The zonal presidents go into their federations. What are some of the needs that we have as a zone, which may be unique to our zone? For example, the Caribbean. I am part of your zone. What are some of the common needs? The zonal presidents take that up and they incorporate it and they develop a plan, which is then shared with the continent for adoption, even if it's not in all of it, but some part of it we could agree what this is before it reaches the continent and be part of the overall continental planning. So even though we can do some things after the fact, it is more efficient for us to try and do all this work beforehand and keep those lines of communications open, given the deadlines for some of these plans.
And not to belabor the point too much, because I know we want to move on. But for example, where I sit, we wouldn't necessarily know, and I'm going to make it my duty going forward to follow up. But we wouldn't necessarily know like what percentage of the money is being utilized at a particular point in time. So is there is that being monitored? So for example, say the money is allocated for a year, just for argument's sake.
Yes.
We look at it at semi-annually after 6 months. We say,
All right.
listen, we use 20%. Why are we not using 40, 50, 60, 70? And to say, listen, for example, Zambia, you have used only, Zambia was allocated 5,000, but since nobody else seems to be using the majority, and we are 9 months already in the year and still 40% is unused. Could we give Zambia another 5? What do they need to do to get another 5, etc., etc.? I just use that country as an example.
Okay, so let me take a look at the reporting. So the PDC reports, even though not all commissions report, we report every quarter to the council. In that report, you have exactly how much money is used by continent. So that is already there. Okay, so that is a kind of double check. So it at least could allow you to ask the question, why am I at 5%? And it could just very well mean that we're doing everything in the second quarter, but at least you've asked the question. So that information is already there. So that is one way in which you could kind of do that, right? And I think that is where the big ticket is, because we really want the continents to work with us, work for us. Okay, and when we have the zonal, that is why now we have to have even more collaboration now with the zones now, as we given zones an opportunity to come up with plans. Okay, and this is where we as federations, once we know, we make sure we have our voices here. Okay, but I don't know if there are any other questions, but because we are very tight on time, we still have a question and answer after, so that's okay. Everyone, is it okay for us to move on to Ava, because she really wants to share with us what she wants to do with the Women's Commission? Ian, is that okay?
That's fine, especially since I'm responsible for women's chess in Jamaica, so I'm excited to hear what she has to say. I'm excited to hear what she has to say.
Excellent, excellent. So thank you. I would even remove my concluding remarks only in the interest of time, because I could always make remarks after. Okay, so please let's allow, right? This is, again, just some my concluding. I won't go into it. Let's go to Eva. We could stop sharing and go to Eva.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
No problem.
Okay. So I can start, right? Can you hear me?
Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So, dear Mr. President, dear colleagues, dear chess friends, thank you for this opportunity to share with you ideas of our commission, especially for next year, as you know, because it's our big year. So the Women's Commission is truly grateful to President Arkady Dvorkovich, FIDE management and FIDE Council to have declared 2022 the Year of Women in Chess, and for the support provided to make this an outstanding year of women, as we all hope. This is our chance to make our mark and to make long-term changes to help encourage women participation in all ranks of chess. We seek your engagement, your voices on the topic that really matter to women, and your participation in the number of initiatives that we have laid out to help us to form a path for women in chess in the future. There are two things in particular which I would like to ask of you. Just like Sonja mentioned before about her own topic, that we cannot do this on our own, we also need your help. So about those two things which I would like to point out. First, whenever you can, think to add to our Year of Women in Chess at least one special initiative which we could add to our calendar. Of course, Women's Commission has already quite some plan for next year, but we would like to make it even bigger. So if each of you can think of at least one special thing to do for us, because it's Year of Women in Chess, that would be wonderful. That would be a great help. Another thing which we are trying to accomplish is to create a network for women around the world. And our idea is to for each national federation, for each zone, for each continent, that we have, if not the full Commission for Women's Chess, at least one person designated for this purpose. So we do hope to create such a network, and we will also appeal to national federations. So please, if when we reach out to you, please help us with this task, because it's important. This way we can share information, we can share events which we are planning, and we can increase participation, because we have knowledge that many times women want to participate, but they just don't know, or they learn late. So here we are sharing now our plan for next year. It's not full yet. It's the process is ongoing, but we hope to finish it completely in the beginning of the year. So we would like to start the year by publishing a manifesto, which we are also preparing to inform everybody what we want to accomplish next year and what Year of Women in Chess really means. During this, in this manifesto, we will also list some of the activities we are planning, which are also here. I would like to briefly inform you. First of all, we would like to organize Queen's Festival again, and we hope that it will be recurring yearly. And already this year it was a big event with 82 countries joining and 46 participants in tournaments, and many more thousands of them inside events. And we really hope that this quite a big number we can increase even more, precisely through those designated persons who will help us advertise events for women. So we hope to create this net to start creating and be successful in creating this network. So all the events we will do later in the year will be full of participants, thanks to this information flowing easily. During this Queen's Festival, again, it will be a series of continental and global chess tournaments, but also we will organize side events and some workshops and seminars. So this will be like the whole package again, and we can learn from this year's experience, and we believe we can make it even better and bigger. The next important topic is Olympiad, of course. Everybody is excited. Finally, we all can meet in person, and during Olympiad, we are planning to also make sure that Year of Women in Chess is acknowledged, and we are planning to prepare at least one big side event for regarding women. And with my colleagues, we are still working on the ideas, but this is we feel that this is our big opportunity to make ourselves visible there. We would like also to educate women. As you all know, we are working with other commissions on all kinds of seminars, so they can participate actively in all kinds of chess lives as trainers, arbiters, international organizers. We would like to also add some other topics which like encourage women to be more assertive, to take some also leadership positions in their chess community. So we would like to also enrich our educational agenda to reach out also to women who who would like to participate more actively, but something is missing. Maybe they are just shy, or they need a little bit of encouragement, little bit of self-esteem, and so on. So we would like to work again, but in larger scale with education. Here I would like to express my gratitude to all of my colleagues in FIDE, because wherever I reach, whenever I ask for a meeting, everybody is really excited and willing to help, willing to go an extra mile to help us organize mostly the same seminars which I mentioned, but also helping with other ideas. So we are really excited that we are not there by ourselves, but we are receiving a lot of help. So I really want to thank to all those colleagues who are always there for us to support. Another important change we want to make is to make our webpage more active and work more with social media. It's also not an easy task, because it's easy to start, but you need to keep it throughout the year. So we hope to find some good way, also in cooperation with Marketing Commission, to keep our webpage active. So whoever wants to check for some events can just go there. So we want to put a calendar there. And if we succeed to build a network, which I'm talking about, although this will certainly take time, we can also share stories and events from other countries from all around the world. It will be much easier, because then information can be sent to us through this channel. Also, we want to launch next year some kind of exchange network, where at least we were thinking once every quarter, like 4 times a year, to launch a network to exchange ideas regarding women in chess. Also, different federations can participate and share their experience, what their problems are, where they are successful, where they need help, and maybe this way we can somehow help each other and exchange information. And another topic which we want to open is some safeguarding process for women to report abuse, but I must say not only for women. You know, we are going to work with other commissions, with probably Ethics Commission, and we hope to start some way to open some channels where people can simply report abuse, and this would be also our contribution next year to our chess community. Collaboration with other FIDE commissions, I already mentioned. This is an ongoing process. We started already in some years ago, and next year we are planning to expand and increase this cooperation, which I'm as I mentioned already, very excited about. And one more thing on the list I didn't mention is we are preparing podcasts. The first one is being prepared right now, and we hope to publish it around January 20. The podcast will feature inspiration on women in chess. It will be we will publish it around once a month, so 10 to 12 podcasts next year, and we will start actually with Jana Krivec, who is a WGM. She recently published a book, and she has a PhD in psychology. She's a professor lecturing around the world, and she was kind enough to also not only to do the podcast with us, but also help us throughout the year to prepare webinars for women, where one part will be lecturing and another will be interactive part. And our aim is to well, actually, it will be open to all, not only for women, but the aim is to help deal with psychological stress in chess and in our chess community, and to teach participants how to have better emotional and psychological and mental well-being. So this is something also new, because we feel that this topic is important to open. We are all affected by it, especially during Corona times. And our aim to start the discussion, so in the future we can continue build on it, and also open this area for discussion and support, so people can help each other also, to become psychologically, mentally, and emotionally stronger and function better together. So this is, I guess, a short overview. If you have any question, please don't hesitate.
Thank you, Eva. Colleagues, if you have any questions or suggestions to the next year's plan, you are more than welcome to speak up now, because it is really the high time when the plans, the reports, the word will be transformed into something tangible, something visually appealing, and something exciting for the next year. So as Eva was encouraging you, she will also approach the continents and federations individually to agree on the best activities to be developed together for the promotion of women in chess. But I believe this has to be the two-way direction. So any initiatives that you have in mind, any traditional events that you are also already implementing, please put on the table so that we can better promote them, enhance them, probably develop and change the scale, expand the scale. This would be very important, because otherwise, I mean, if it's only FIDE trying to do something, we are too small as an organization. We need your partnership and the whole network being used for that. Please give some suggestions or comments if there are any for Eva's presentation. Thank you, Eva.
Zurab has his hand up. Zurab and Ian. Zurab.
Yes, can I?
Please.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank all people, Dana, Sonja, and of course, Eva, for very nice report. Yeah, our people actually are asking already questions. Can we get this all? I'm sure that we can get it. Yeah. And you know what I want to say just about the women chess. You know, recently, just months ago, we had I attended the European Small Nation Team Championship, where by opportunity, first time in the history, women participate. And you know, we discussed also, I attended the meeting of the small nations, and we discussed the possibility, not only possibility, but we already with our support, of course, with European Chess Union support, and I believe that with FIDE support as well, that first time in the history of the small nations, European small nations, next year they will start women championship as well, individual championship. Yes, we know that there is a difficulties. There is not many women chess players are in those countries, but this is not a reason not to have a championship, and we have to start. And I know that they are preparing their proposals. They are preparing proposals to ECU and to FIDE, and we will do our best, of course, to have a successful championship. And this will be a new project in 2022, which will be actually Women's Year, and use this opportunity together. And well, we will have also in Monaco, not such a celebration like European Golden Pawn, but will be very important event in February 26th. I know that from your side, several chairpersons, and Dana, of course, as well, are invited already. And we will have, I think, very good opportunity also to introduce women chess as one of the key subject for future. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Zurab. Two comments from my side. As much as I am sorry that the Golden Pond will not take place next year, I'm very happy that you have ECU has transformed it into a quality female or ladies or women event to celebrate the power and the beauty of chess players. So thank you very much. And as for the second idea, for the initiative that you are going to promote the organization of the national championships in the small nations, in those countries that currently do not have the women championships, that's just amazing. That's a very good example what we are expecting, and actually even more so. It's not just the words. I mean, Mr. Jeffrey Borg has already approached PDC and FIDE with his indicative plans, not only about the national championships, but also about an extensive training program for the young girls in those countries that do not have the Olympic team in place. Their very ambitious goal is actually to use this time till Moscow Olympiad and try to encourage them to form the female teams. So, and I think it's an amazing initiative, and we will be happy to support these kind of ideas because it really makes the difference. It's concrete, it's specific, it's encouraging, and it's something that we need.
I just think very quickly, I want to go, Ian, if you could just give me, I'll just ask for Peter, even though your hand was up, just to make sure that we have somebody else, and then I'll come back to you, I promise. Peter.
So thank you for Zurab for your comments, and also for the good news. Also recently Mitropa was founded, and I see a lot of support for women there, as I was present while the documents were signed, and they put also gender equality in their statutes. So I see that those little steps, but very important steps, are being made, and we are happy that that everyone is trying to do it, because again, I will use Sonja's words that we cannot do it on our own. We need your help. So thank you for all of your support.
Perfect. Peter, any questions before?
Hello, good afternoon. My video is not working, so just
no problem.
Very shortly. Thank you very much for all information. It's great personally for me. I just wanted to say that we are preparing European Women Championship in last 10 days in August in Prague, and during this we would like to have a women conference. So we are just working on this, and in January I believe I will contact all the persons in Europe, Eva, and we will share this with you, because I think it's time to help to the women chess. It's very interesting, and we will work on this. So thank you. That's all.
Excellent. Eva, you're getting support, girl. Let's just hear from Ian, and then you will be, if any other closing remarks, Ian, finally, and then we'll have to move on to the capacity building. Mm-hmm.
Yes, good afternoon again, and thank you, Eva, for that report. Firstly, I want to say I am very, very big on women in chess. I was president in Jamaica for more than 15 years. I pushed it as much as possible. And I'm not looking any praise, but sometimes out of pocket incentives to have the girls and the women play chess. I have found that the international body, FIDE, I now sit on the council, over many years, just gave a lot of lip service to chess. As Dana said earlier, or Dana, whichever you prefer, I'm sorry. We talk the talk, but we need to walk the walk. I am so happy that 2022 has been declared what I call, what is it? YOWIC, YOWIC, Year of Women in Chess.
Women in Chess, yeah.
And I'm going to ask, I know I can get it, I'm just going to ask that I get the contact information for Eva because I want to share some more details personally with her because time doesn't allow for it now. But since we have the platform now of nearly 50 persons in this meeting, I would like to encourage you not to just talk this talk, but to make it a reality. So 2022 is just around the corner. We should be highlighting our women because, as I often tell my male players, women players are just as good. In fact, sometimes even better in some ways than male players. We just don't see it for different reasons manifested all the time. And of course, Judith Polgar and Ifan, they're used as a great examples, but there's so many great female players. We need to implement some proposals. So like the marketing arm of FIDE and women's chess, we need to start pushing this hard. Yes, Queen's Gambit, the series gave us a big push, but how much have we tried to maximize it through our national bodies, through FIDE, through women's chess? Now is a great opportunity. I would like to see marketing programs put in place and really publicized. I would like to see flyers. I would like to see things pressing women online, not just in FIDE platforms, but in many other general windows. I would like to see a little bit of promos regularly on YouTube, just highlighting YOIC, Women Year of Women in Chess. We have this Inspirational Woman of the Year award, which is going to be made. What are the criteria? All of these things should be promoted. I would like to see every single FIDE country, member state, have a woman ambassador. And we can determine whether the national federation is going to appoint such a person. And then we can surround or use that person to push initiatives for women in 2022 in each of those federations. As Sandra knows, Barbados held a tournament recently. Jamaica put 50% of the women who were in that tournament because we thought it important to support our fellow country. I mean, we put on a tournament, we never got similar support. I was glad that we had a representative as far as Azerbaijan who played in our tournament in honor of our best ever female player, who's woman I am, Deborah Richards Porter. I see Irina Sukanda. I remember when I was abroad in one of the Olympiad, Deborah played Irina, who's now risen to be one of the greatest players female around. So I am saying, all of us who are here on this platform, let us just talk it. Let us make it into a reality. I think for too long, our female players have not got the support that they should have got. And this year it should not just be a symbolic year to say, yes, just recognize our women. Let's make it real, and I am here to help as much as possible. I'm talking with this passion, as you might detect, because I'm responsible for women's chess now in a particular capacity in Jamaica. The president asked me to do it because he knows how passionate I'm about this. And I'd like for your support. See how we can get trainers for the women. See how we can support regular internet competitions for our girls going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all these ideas. I would just like to mention that this is absolutely true, that much more things needs to be done. We have a long way to go still, but in the same time, we need to also consider that this is a natural development, that we are ready now. It's as a society as well, not only as an international organization. A lot of work has been done with this administration. I must say that Mr. President, our FIDE President, Mr. Dvorkovic, is supporting women tremendously right from the start, and we can see it also increased prices on a top level, and now we also reach other levels as well. But this is ongoing process. It's a hard work. There is no recipe for overnight success, but we are walking in the right direction, and next year I believe will move us a lot forward. So and thank you for really supporting women, and we need more people like you to support us everywhere, and we hope that we can reach desired results as soon as possible. But again, I like to call it organic growth, you know, just really natural. And this is the best way because it offers lasting results, you know. And again, unfortunately, no miraculous recipe, but we will get there. I'm quite confident. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eva. Jan, you know that there is this movement, he for she. I think you would be a perfect role model for one of those he's who is for she. Thank you very much for your passion. Sonja, if you may at some point give the floor to Madam Sorokina, she would also like to make some comment on the issue.
Sure. Anastasia, go right ahead, Madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, colleague. Could you hear me? Yes.
Yes,
super.
we hear you clearly.
Okay, that's good. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. President for support that he's given to all social projects that we implement during this year, and Planning Development Commission, of course, you know, to support our ideas about infinite chess and about chess for protection, and Dana, who is always very actively support and give bright ideas about what could be done better in the way of developing these projects. But I want to pay a little bit attention about projects that were mentioned in Dana's speech, and she said about the Chess for Protection project. But actually, we have two ways, two lines, I would say, in this project. Chess, and one of them it's a girls' club. And I want to mention that during last 4 months only, our trainers, GM Anastasia Karlovich and International Master Salome Mele from Georgia, given lessons to 180 girls. Could you imagine 180 girls only in camp in Kenya? So this is only the first step, and it's a really great idea that from next year, so next year will be announced as a Women in Chess year, and I think this project it's very important for girls who is in a difficult situation as refugees around the world, and FIDE already started a develop program for such an initiative, and I believe that during next year we can do even more in all refugee camps and for ladies in these camps. And it's not only about chess, it's also about socializing, it's about what chess could give extras, not only to learn how to play chess, but also some extra possibility, you know, to get new friends, new possibility in their life. And I think it's very, very important. So thank you for support. And if you have any questions, dear colleagues, or have any ideas about how to do it in your country, please, I always very open to contact and share our ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. For this, I know I have to say, first of all, you're all doing very well. I know we're a little bit tight for time, but we have one last set of feedback from Meran Tabti. Is that your name, Meran? Please.
You hear me?
I can. We
okay,
can.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I am very happy that the next year is the Women Chess Year, and we have a concrete proposal, but I don't know how to proceed, because it's a special case. I hear that you have organized some refugees activity in Jordan and in Kenya, and we have I am from Algeria, and we have in Algeria a very big camp of refugees from the Western Sahara. There are more than 70,000 people inside this camp, and we have a chess federation of chess from Sahrawi Chess Federation. The president of this federation is a woman, and the most part of the players of this chess federation are women, 17% at least. It's a very particular situation.
Yes.
So I don't know how to organize something with these refugees as you did in Jordan and Kenya. I know that the African Chess Confederation recognized this chess federation. The other problem is a part of these refugees are not in Algeria. They are in a territory without state, not recognized not by United Nations and the CIO. So there's a problem to resolve before organizing these activities. But they are in the ground, they are organizing activities. For example, last year, at the 8th of March, it's the International Women's Day. They organized an important event, and they want to organize a tournament with the neighbors, Mauritania and Algeria. So there's a real activity. I don't know how to proceed to benefit of the support of the PDC program and the women activities of FIDE. I am as zone president. They asked me to tell FIDE about what is the possibility to have a support by FIDE. Thank you.
Let me shortly share the experience with Kakuma camp. There, it was probably a bit easier because we got a very strong partnership with UNHCR that is managing the camp. So it's very important actually to have the local partner, the managing institution, the organization that takes care about the camp on board from one side and the local federation from the other side. Because what we did in this cooperation, we started with training the trainers or facilitators. In that case, there's a local project manager, a person who is on spot there in Kakuma camp. Peter is his name. He was organizing this training of the trainers. So once they were trained, we equipped them with all the materials, with methodology, whomever of them needed, with the materials, and now they are spreading out and making the network. They approach the local schools in the Kakuma camp and train the kids. And in parallel, we have this girls program that is carried out in 3 boarding schools, combining the online and offline activities. Once again, our people from our side providing the contents, but with the local facilitators or trainers being there on spot and supporting this studying and training work. So my suggestion would be that if you could facilitate, or the local federation could facilitate the first meeting with the organization or some representative of the organization that takes care of the camp, we will figure out what the next steps would be. The first step is really to reach out to them and agree on the meeting, to raise the interest and to agree on the practical steps.
The partner are identified. We have a structure of federation for this Western Sahara. So it's very easy to connect with someone from FIDE.
So let's do that. You've got my contacts. I will send them to you once again, and we'll organize the meeting.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So thank you very much, everyone, so far. Clearly, that was a very engaged session. Eva, you see, women in chess, it's all good. We're going to do like Ian, walk the talk. Ian, we're walking the talk. So now we're going to just have so thanks again for everyone. We want to make sure we bring in the capacity building side, because we have some very good presentations for you. As we know, federations are moving towards sustainability. We want to make sure we equip you with some of the tools to help you towards that. So now we have FIDE Marketing Director, Marco Verdoya, who's going to tell us a little bit about the whole objectives behind the whole sponsorship toolkit, because we want federations to also get these additional partners. It is a key criteria. So I would now leave the floor to Marco. Marco?
Yeah, thank you, Sandra.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Thank you, Sandra. I'm being conscious of time. I will make a brief presentation, but first of all, I wanted to thank the FIDE president, the FIDE colleagues, and all the participants for this opportunity for me to briefly illustrate the sponsorship toolkit project, which is included in the capacity building section. Now, the project aims to help national federations build capacity with regards to engage with sponsors as a possible source of self-sustaining. Now, looking at sports landscape, Sponsorship are traditionally, one of the most established income sources for sports organization, and ideally, they should become also an integral part of our national federation's marketing and promotional activities. So in that regard, the FIDE marketing team is developing this sponsorship toolkit, which is addressed actually to national federation. And the purpose of the presentation today is really to share a bit of an overview about such a toolkit that is near in the final stages of its completion. So if you can just move to the next slide, please. Very briefly on the agenda, what we are gonna see today, again, being conscious of time, is first of all, the objectives of the toolkit. The second point will be a brief description of the structure of the toolkit, so which items will be included. And then there will be possibly some time for some Q&A if there's any question about that. If I may go to the objectives. Okay, so in principle, the main goal of this project is to provide national chess federations with some concrete and actionable tools to independently engage with sponsors, to develop sponsorship proposals, as well as providing, I would say, recommendations on how to manage, these relationship with sponsors. The goal there is really to provide concrete, as I said, and actionable tools, not really focusing only on how to do, but really show and provide tools and resources that can help national federations to be independent in engaging with companies and organizations that can help them in the long run to achieve some of the points that we included in this slide. First of all, possibly help reach sustainability. May not be the only source, but could be a very helpful one. Of course, through sponsorship, funding of youth and community programs, as well as supporting local chess players at any level, and in general, to get enough funding for exploring and evolving the ideas of chess at national level. So main objective, as I said, is really to get a professional approach, possibly, to engage with sponsors in a way that will make us as a chess community very credible at the eyes of brands and organizations out there that would help us fund our activities. If we can go to the next slide, what I would like to share today is a bit of a top line introduction of what national chess federations will receive once the toolkit will be completed. And actually, ideally, this should be ready at latest by end of Q1 2022. So first of all, the first item that we are working on, it's very close to be completed, is guidelines on what we call sponsorship proposal and management. So in principle, what we are doing here is creating a list of basic principles and recommended for the development of sponsorship proposal, but not only that. The idea is also to provide tools that will help managing then the relationship with those companies and organizations going forward. So it's not going to be focused only on how to draft a document. That's not really the main goal. The main goal is to provide concrete examples and concrete principles to follow when you start thinking about, okay, how can a sponsorship proposal be put together? How can we realistically engage with sponsors, and where do we start? To give you some examples of the content of this section, of this item, actually, we will start from defining which assets you can realistically offer to potential sponsors in relation to your events and activities, and how to start with that. Second step will be how to possibly identify which companies or organizations are worth contacting to propose a sponsorship opportunity, to ensure that you are working possibly with organizations and companies that are aligned with your organizational value and principles, which is, of course, a key requirement, when it's about partnering with some potential external parties for your events and activities. Another item that we will be including will be some recommendations about the most practical way to approach a sponsor, how to be equipped with enough information and data, and also do's and don'ts on how to approach sponsors. Again, these are recommendations and I would say guidelines that are based on 20+ years experience in developing proposals and managing sponsorships. I just give you a very quick example here. there's something that also very seasoned sponsorship sales professionals still do, and that's a mistake in the view of many, which is about putting together a 30+ slide presentation to be sent to some random emails, hoping that someone will pick this up. This is not really what we are aiming for. We are really aiming for some meaningful and well thought out approach and presentation that will start from, again, identifying the most valuable assets, looking at the most compelling ways to engage with sponsors, and really following step by step some recommended, in a way, sequence of actions that should help finalize, structure and finalize the sponsorship sales process. And then another item, which is a bit of the final one here in the guidelines, which is also something that sometimes it's overlooked, is about how to manage sponsors once your sales is successful, because that's also something that we should not forget. Having a sponsorship is not only about selling something to a third party, but also managing the relationship, which is even more important than the actual sales stage. And in the guidelines, we have included some actionable steps to be taken care of, during the relationship management stage. Again, sorry for not being so detailed at this stage. Again, I'm being conscious of time, but it's just to illustrate a bit the content that you will find in the guidelines first. The second item in the toolkit is a sponsorship proposal template. Now, the goal here is to provide national federations with a template to be populated by actual users, following the principles and the recommendations included in the guidelines. But of course, being populated and completed with information and data that are relevant for your event and activities in the context of approaching possibly local companies or organizations, as potential sponsors. Now, being mindful of the capacity building approach here, the goal here is to complement the guidelines that I just mentioned with a template that should help you and your team to, again, structure a professionally looking, professionally structured sponsorship sales presentation, but in a guided way. It's not going to be, how can I say, an empty document for you to complete. It's going to be a handrail document. So handrail document that will help you and your team structure this sales presentation and the entire process, ideally simplifying your life, when drafting a compelling and professionally structured sponsorship proposal. So again, the goal there was really to equip you and your team possibly with the most concrete and actionable item that could help you start this process in a way that is professionally looking, is professionally structured, and realistic at the eyes of an external party that you're approaching for sponsorship purpose. And then the third item that we're going to include in the toolkit is an actual existing sponsorship proposal that was used in the past in our organization and can be used as a benchmark for your future sponsorship sales document. The idea there is to have a concrete example that should ideally complement what you will find in the guidelines and what you will find in the template. And again, the plan there is to give you an additional element and tool that should help you structure your sponsorship sales and management process. Again, I'm just highlighting the management side of this because it's, in my view, same important, even more important than the actual sales. Final remark, and sorry for being so brief, but again, being conscious of time, is that this toolkit, the development of the toolkit started a couple of months ago. It's now near the final stages of its completion. Goal should be to get it ready, possibly not latest than Q1 2022, and ideally the distribution to national federations should be coordinated with together with Sonja's team. So again, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and of course, if there's any question, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so very much, Marco. Any questions before we move on? So you see, guys, we have some good things in coming up. And of course, as I keep on saying, we could not do this alone. There was a need that was identified through the discussions We went into Marco with this particular need, and he's delivering. Okay, so so stay tuned for this finalization of it. And remember, guys, this is going to be dynamic. It's not going to be set in stone because things change and situations change. But we're going to make sure you have something that is robust, that you could feel confident, will give you the kind of profiling and standard that you want to emanate as a professional institution or organization. So once again, thank you so very much, Marco. If there are any questions, of course, you could email Marco directly or us, because again, we work directly with Marco. We don't do anything on our own. This is, we go to the experts, and we've gone to the expert in this case, right? So thank you very much. And again, because of time, you all have been great. We want to then now encourage Jesper Hall, who will also take a look at how else you could seek additional type funding. Europe has these other opportunities, and we felt it was useful to share with the wider FIDE group. So thanks again, Marco, Jesper. The floor is now yours. Be safe.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do you want me to share screen? I try out first, if that's possible. So
okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I am the chairman of ECU Education, but I have also done some surveys and investigations for ECU and FIDE. And one project I've been running during 2021 is how to make a successful chess project. And I see. So my presentation, I hope you can see the next slide coming up. Thank you. I will do a presentation of the participants in the group. I will define the word project because there are different definitions used. I will make explanation on why the model of using projects is so important today. I will give a background to this project that I've been running through 2021 and the setup of it, the timeline, conclusions, key factors to success for a project. I will give you one example, and then I will try to give some suggestions on how to develop for FIDE and ECU. But before I start, I must say that a lot of the speakers before me have already mentioned some of the things that I will repeat. So I must say I can feel that FIDE is on the right track from my point of view, and of course ECU that I'm representing. So next slide. So the participants in the group that I've been working with during this year is, beside myself, Leoncio Garcia from Spain, that I guess most of you know, Gerine Sen from Norway, and Alessandro Dominici from Italy. All of us have got quite a lot of experiences in running chess projects. So that's why we have gathered to try to make an as good project as possible. So can we have the next slide? So first of all, what is a project? A project is to have a defined time frame to reach a clearly defined goal with defined resources. At least this is the way we have chosen to define a project. Now it's going back 2 seconds. So why to use a project? First of all, I believe that it is a very effective working method because you get a clear goal with design competencies to reach this goal. But it's also a good chance to test new ideas and develop the organization. That's why I recommend federations always to work with this idea of having different projects in line to test new stuff and develop their organization. Finally, of course, it's a great chance to get external money that most federations and organizations need. No, it's getting back all the time. So here we are. So the background to this project that I've been running during 2021 is that to develop chess, we really need external money. I think every organization, federation is fighting with this. But also we now have like a boost for chess. You know, the popularity of chess has increased the last years, not the least due to the pandemic and to this this great TV serials that has been on, the Queen's Gambit. But the question is, how do we benefit on it? And I feel that to have good projects working on that, just like the ones before, when it comes to sponsorships, is one way of doing it. One other thing that I think is important to mention is that chess for educational purposes and chess in schools, chess in the society, open up for new possibilities. We are now fighting not only on the sport area, but actually that we want to develop the society. And here we have much more funds, much more possibilities, not the least for sponsorships. So the chess family, we have also realized, lack the knowledge normally on how to finance and run these type of projects, because those are outside the traditional chess setup and our normal framework. So we really need to develop these skills. And it has been more and more important also if you look at how the different organizations give money to this type of organizations like the chess family of representing. Normally this is done through projects. That is why it is important for us to develop our skills in this area. So what have we done? Well, first of all, this is a project that is sponsored or financed by the FIDE Development Fund through ECU. And we have a project group that I showed you before. And what we have tried to do is to analyze the situation of today, identify the needs of the chess family, and also try to look at how do other organizations work that we can compare us with, because I feel that there are a lot of organizations working with similar areas that are much better than we are so far when it comes to raising money and fundraising through different possibilities. We have tried to make an overview and gather all successful projects when it comes to chess that we have found. We try to make conclusions, identify key factors, and in the end, what we want to present is a digital manual for making projects. We want to create a web page with information, advice, and inspiration for the chess family, federations, organizations, clubs, and so on. We will give 2 seminars, and finally, we want to make recommendations on how to proceed and develop this that we have started with what we do. So the timeline is that during the last 6 months, we have been collecting material and had a lot of discussions, of course, and try to identify what I've already presented. And now we are just in the middle of producing the manual and the web page. And we believe that in the end of February, we will have, or maybe in the beginning of March, it will be a little bit of a discussion with FIDE and ECU, how to do this the best way. We want to run 2 seminars on how to run successful chess projects. So what kind of conclusions have we found so far? And I will, of course, try to do it a bit briefly again. But first of all, we can see that chess has got great possibilities. I really want to put forward that. I mean, one of the surveys that I was running last year as well was that we found out that 25 million kids have got chess in schools every week around the world. This is massive, and this gives us possibilities. The second thing that I want to emphasize on is that our game can be played by everyone. It crosses all barriers, and this makes our game unique and also very attractive and interesting for those people sponsoring, for funds, for states, and so on. This is the 2 things that I want to mention in the very beginning that I think is the most important things. But then, of course, chess is very easy to play. You can play it everywhere. It's also renowned as the IQ game number 1, and has got high status all over. In all my life, I've never heard anyone really saying that chess is bad in any way, that you normally hear from other sports and so on. There are some parts that it's not as good. Chess, you never hear that. Chess is also connected to good values, great respect for your opponent, and so on. And one very important thing, chess can be played both in real life and online. If we compare ourselves with our sports organizations, they have huge difficulties now during the pandemic chess, we have possibilities. Conclusion number 2. The chess family is very strong when it comes to arranging chess tournaments. I think we have, splendid tournaments all over the world with great arbiters and so on, because we have a long knowledge on how to do that. But we do not know so much on how to find money and run projects outside this area. Here we need to do a lot of work. There's also a need for a strategy to learn, spread knowledge, and work professionally on how to finance and run projects and activities. I feel this is the next step, and I already feel during this session that it is going on, so we are on the right track. That's my feeling. Conclusion number 3, and I think this is probably the most important thing that we need to do as a chess family, and that is to have a new perspective. And we choose to call it the outside and in perspective. What we need to do is to start to take a look at our game from the other person's, the other organization's position. Because normally it is not chess in itself that is interesting. It's actually what chess can do. It is chess as a tool. And if we use that and we start to give the arguments from this position, we can use that towards sponsors, funds, governments, schools, children, parents. We do not focus on the game. We do not so much focus on the sport side of chess, actually that it is for everyone and everyone can join, and the other good things with chess. Conclusion number 4, and I think this is also something that is interesting in our work, that is that today there are 2 types of organizations, I would say, and that is the old ones and the new ones. The old organizations are, the classical organizations. They do different things, and then they go to the governments, to the sponsors, and say, this is what we do, can you give us money for that? But now we have a new trend. We have new organizations, and what they do is that before they organize themselves, before they do, start activities and so on, they look at how should we do that, organize ourselves, how should we arrange our activities to get as much money as possible. And what we need to do, the old organizations, is to learn from the new ones. We need to be much more skilled in how to organize ourselves, our activities, so we can get more finance into our business. So, key factors for success. We have identified several. First of all, I think the most important thing is the outside and in perspective. Put yourself in the other person's position. Another trick is that make a bank of ideas. Those are the projects we want to do. And then you make a second list, and that is for what kind of projects can we get money. And you need to analyze from the other person's positions what they give money to. And then you combine your lists, you twist your ideas so they fit in with what you can get money for. Look for other successful projects that got money from this source that you try to get money from. Make your investigation before you try to create this project. And also one very important thing, prepare your organization. You need to be professional all the way through the material, the presenters, your web page. You need to come with a full kit so you are trustworthy when it comes when you approach those people that you want to get money from. Work with professionals. There are so many chess players out there that are skilled in different areas that we can make use of, and try to find them and treat them as professionals, but you can be sure that they will make a fantastic job because they love chess. So this is the type of persons I try to find that have an interest, understanding for chess, but also professional skills that we need. The key person is the project manager normally. There are a lot of burning souls out there in the chess world, and not the least those who are going to be the driving engine in the different projects. This person is normally the key. The person that has got the skill how to drive a project forward, but also the interest of chess, understanding of the chess world. If you can find this person, then you have a very good start. Surrounding this project manager, you need a project team that are skilled in how to run projects. And of course, normally chess projects also work with volunteers. Do not forget them. Take care of them. They are the basic and the fundamentals of the chess world. Finally, two very important things. If you want to have a successful project, you need cooperation. And when I say cooperation, I really need cooperation, not you saying this is the way to do it, but actually to give and take and try to find a real good way to cooperate and also to share ideas, just like we do today, because there are so much money out there. If we open up the doors and have this new perspective, so there's no difficulty in sharing the ideas because we are not competing. We can only help each other. And what my recommendations are for FIDE and ECU is to make a strategy to get money. I can feel that this is already done during this session, you know, that you have a toolkit for sponsorship. That is excellent from my point of view, exactly what I would want to see, because we need strategies for all this type of different sources of money to get into like subsidies from state, funds, sponsors, patrons, mecenates, and investors. There need to be very hands-on concrete ideas and support so that federations, organizations can do this also themselves. So one example I want to give you, and forgive me if this is one of my own, because this is something that just happened recently. It is a project that we got money for that is called Let Us Play Together. And I just want to show the process on how this project was released. First of all, when I work with chess, I can see how perfect it is as a bridge between people. And today, in quite a lot of Europe, we have two growing areas in chess. It's the seniors and it's chess in schools. How can we support these growing areas? And then that was the needs. Then we have the second list, the possibilities. And we are always on the hunt for good funds to try to get money from. It can be Erasmus Plus, or it can be national funds and so on. And we found one that we thought this is a really great one. And we analyzed and we wanted to get money from that one. And we realized that seniors and school children are the main topic. So we also needed to find someone who can drive this project if we get money. And we had Stockholm Chess Federation that was ready for that. In Sweden, Stockholm is half, or the Chess Society of Stockholm is half of the whole Swedish Chess Federation. They have several employed people and they have all the structure so they can drive a good project forward. So we had everything in line. Oh, sorry, now again. So we had that, and now to the idea of Let Us Play Together. First of all, we wanted to make this bridge between seniors and school children. And we realized that a very good slogan is play with your grandchild. This is something very catchy that can, everyone can understand. One of the most important things is in the application, the focus is not on chess, but on the cooperation between the child and the senior. Chess is only the tool. So we are focusing so much on the meeting between the child and the senior. And the idea is to make a concept to learn, train, and play chess, cross the barrier of age, both online and in real life. And this is important because a lot of funds and sponsors now realize that a lot of the seniors today can be quite lonely when they are locked down and cannot meet the grandchildren and so on. And that's why it's getting interested if we can offer something that can be both online or in real life, depending on the situation. Beside that, we will have a yearly festival and a conference called Let Us Play Together, where we will try to gather all these different people from different areas that can come together and play in a joyful and nice event. Not so much focusing on the sportive side, but actually the meeting again. And for this project, we received 250,000 euros from this fund because we only used chess as a tool. So finally, suggestions for FIDE and ECU. Well, we are in the process of being more and more concrete in my group. But first of all, I think it's important to understand that there is a clear distinction between chess as a sport and chess for the society. We have actually been focusing today quite a lot on chess for the society. And the reason for that is, like I said, it opened up new doors where we can receive funding from new sources. But I also want to say that I think that we have already now have presentations of these different areas that are, not exactly related to each other, but very close. And I suggest that FIDE is creating a money-making team, making workshops, making this kind of work together. How can we make a strategy for each type of different source of funding? And we need to prepare the organizations for receiving money, because like I said, you need to be trustworthy if someone is going to invest in what you do. And how can that be done? You need to develop a good strategy for communication and marketing, because actually we do a lot of things very good, not the least chess in schools, chess in the society, the bridge between people, but this needs to be seen. And this is something that is so important for us to communicate. Finally, we cannot only leave it to a money-making team. We also need to have a project team that is connected to the money-making team, so that we can coach and support if we receive money, and not the least to support the different federations, organizations on a more national level, and coaching them so they are successful with what they do. And I think that was that. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jesper. I think that was very explicit. Thank you for echoing the same ideas and messages that we were trying to get over the table the whole day today. I think it's very useful. I have to admit that many of your suggestions have been also very important for us. We were actually intending to have this presentation for our federations or for zonal councils and council representatives and for the continent, but many of these arguments and many of these suggestions actually are important for us ourselves as well as the organization, because we also do have many burning souls available, but the management capabilities are still pretty scarce and we need to build those up. But I think we are on the right track. So colleagues, friends, if there are any suggestions or questions, comments after the presentation of Jesper, this is the momentum to raise your hand and go on. Otherwise, you will get all the presentations, including this one as well. And I am pretty sure that Jesper is also open for some individual advice if that would be needed, not over-exaggerating, of course.
I think Mr. Wilkinson wants to say.
Yeah, Ian is hands it up. Dana.
Jan, yes.
I'm not going to say, I wanted the contact information for Jesper. I just wanted to discuss with him the definition of project. I thought it was good to do that. I just had a little suggestion about it, but I won't delay the meeting with that. I will reach out to him personally.
Thank you, Jan. Anyone else? I don't see the hands raised up, colleagues. You have to help me, those who are in the Zoom meeting. No. So everything
I can just say that I have put my email address into the chat if someone wants to contact me.
Mm-hmm. Use you as the money-making team or the special advisor. Yes. Thank you, Jesper. I think it was very useful. So, colleagues, we have reached the end of our today's agenda. We started with some statistics analysis of how we've been investing the development fund money so far. We've seen various projects for your inspiration, trying to get you out of the box and hoping that you will come with the new initiatives next year at all the levels, national, zonal, continental, and we will also propose ours from FIDE side. We also heard some important dates for you to put down, and a reminder was there on the practicalities, what you have to observe when you are approaching PDC and willing to have some development funding allocated. We also had some short but very important Q&A sessions. I hope that you got all the answers there. And then I think the discussion on the Women in Chess year was pretty exciting. Thank you also for demonstrating the interest in supporting this initiative. That's very important for us. And yes, and at the end of the day, we also heard, I think, quite practical presentations from Marco. Still looking forward to seeing the real toolkit, not the information about the toolkit itself. But Jesper, your presentation, I think, was and will be very useful for the other colleagues to consider after this meeting as well. But now I think for the dessert, we can enjoy once again the presence of Mr. President, who's been carefully listening to everything and will most probably wrap the things up and show us the way forward. Mr. President?
Yes. Well, not everything, unfortunately, but I was listening to maybe half of the thing, since we had to resolve some small issues here at the venue. But let me reiterate that next year for us is the year when we are coming back to the full-scale activities. And we would like to do this properly, including our day-to-day collaboration with national federations, zonal federations, and continental associations. And as I mentioned in the introductory remark, we are planning continental development meetings this year, and I'm eager to participate personally at those meetings. That's, I think, one of the things which is really important this year. Also, on the educational part, I believe we can start sharing those best practices we have been accumulating and analyzing throughout the last few months as well. And we have many requests to this regard from national federations, and still most people, and well, people are also changing. There were many national elections throughout the period, and even if some people before knew about the differences between different approaches, now there are new people who should be trained, and we have to make sure they know about different approaches and the plus and minuses of those approaches. So let's continue with those things, and I would like to urge you to be as active as possible. While most of you have been doing great job either on your own or with the help of FIDE, were still some federations, some zones that were not active enough. That's not because you are not good, you're all good, but the year was difficult. The pandemic year was difficult for everyone, but now let's try to come back from that and work 100%, even while the pandemic is not over. Thanks a lot, everyone. We will take some lessons from this meeting to the FIDE Council and General Assembly meetings that will take place tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And once again, I would like to see all of you next year at some occasions, including Moscow. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. I would also like to thank Sonja and the whole PDC team for the whole year's work and also for preparing the contents of this meeting. Sava, administrative team, for organizing all the technical part of this event, and you, Mr. President, for your great leadership. With this, I guess you should close the meeting as the real chair of it.
Yes, if there are no objections, the meeting is closed and adjourned. And please enjoy this evening, including watching the World Rapid Championships. The second round is on the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye to all.
Thank you. Goodbye all.
Thank
Bye
you.
to all.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye all. See you.